The invitation to the hospital gala sat on my kitchen counter for 3 weeks before I decided to attend. St. Catherine's Medical Center annual fundraiser. Black tie, silent auction, the works. My neurosurgeon, Dr. Patricia Chin, had personally invited me after my third brain surgery in 18 months. She wanted me there as a success story, she'd said, though I still had bandages under my carefully styled hair and couldn't stand for more than 20 minutes without vertigo. I almost didn't go. My family had made it clear they thought my medical issues were blown out of proportion. Maya's always been dramatic, my younger sister Ashley told everyone. At 23 she was the golden child, pre-med at a prestigious university, volunteer coordinator at a free clinic, social media influencer with 50,000 followers posting about her journey to become a healer. My parents funded her entire life while I worked as a medical illustrator from home, scheduling my freelance projects around surgery recoveries and physical therapy appointments. It's just headaches, my mother told relatives when they asked why I missed Thanksgiving last year. I'd been in the ICU recovering from emergency surgery to remove a brain tumor the size of a golf ball. She's milking it for attention, Ashley said when I couldn't attend her graduation party. I'd been home alone, managing post-surgical complications, while the entire extended family celebrated her achievements at an expensive restaurant I helped pay for through the monthly checks I sent my parents. They didn't know I sent those checks. My parents thought my freelance medical illustration work was a little hobby. They had no idea I was the lead illustrator for 3 major medical textbook publishers, that my anatomical drawings were used in teaching hospitals across the country, that I earned more than both of them combined. I kept it quiet because I'd learned early that any success of mine was either dismissed or somehow credited to their parenting. But my health, that they couldn't ignore completely. They just chose to minimize it. "Are you sure you need another surgery?" my father asked before my second operation. "These doctors just want money. Maybe get a second opinion." I'd gotten 4 opinions. All said the same thing. Without surgery I'd likely have a stroke before my 30th birthday. I was 27. The tumor was benign but aggressive, wrapped around critical blood vessels. Each surgery was risky. Each recovery was brutal. And each time my family treated it like I was getting a dental cleaning. "Ashley's midterms are next week," my mother said when I asked if she could drive me to my pre-op appointment. "She's so stressed. Can't you just take an Uber?" I took an Uber to brain surgery. 3 times. Ashley posted on Instagram about her difficult journey through organic chemistry while I relearned how to walk without falling over. Her post got thousands of likes. My mother commented hearts and "so proud of you, baby" on every single one. When I mentioned my vertigo was getting worse, my father said, "Maybe you should exercise more. Ashley runs 5 miles every morning." I couldn't run. I could barely walk in a straight line. But sure, Dad, I'd get right on that. The gala invitation felt like validation from the one person who actually understood what I'd been through. Dr. Chin had held my hand before each surgery, explained every risk in detail, and called me personally when pathology results came back. She'd seen me at my worst, crying in her office when my family didn't show up for a major consultation, shaking in pre-op when I realized I'd be going under anesthesia alone again. "You're one of the strongest people I've ever treated," she told me after the 3rd surgery. "And I want the world to know it." So I bought a dress that hid my medical alert bracelet, practiced my balance in heels, and decided to attend. I didn't tell my family. They wouldn't care anyway. I arrived at the hotel ballroom at 7, already exhausted from getting ready. The room glittered with chandeliers and was filled with doctors, hospital administrators, and wealthy donors. Dr. Chin spotted me immediately and rushed over. "Maya, you came. You look beautiful." She hugged me gently, mindful of my still healing incision site. "Thank you for inviting me," I said, meaning it. "Come meet some people," she said, guiding me toward a group near the silent auction. "I want them to hear your story." Hold up. For the next hour I stood with Dr. Chin as she introduced me to hospital board members, department heads, and major donors. She didn't sugarcoat anything. "Maya has endured 3 craniotomies in 18 months. She told a retired surgeon who donated a wing to the hospital. "Each surgery more complex than the last. The tumor was intertwined with the middle cerebral artery. One wrong move and we'd be looking at catastrophic stroke or death." The surgeon looked at me with genuine respect. How did you stay so positive through all that? I didn't tell him about crying alone in my apartment, about the panic attacks before each surgery, about the nights I genuinely wasn't sure I'd survive. Instead, I smiled and said, "Good medical care makes all the difference." Dr. Chen squeezed my shoulder. Maya's also being modest. She continued working throughout treatment. She's a medical illustrator. You've probably seen her work. She illustrated the neuroanatomy section in Harrison's latest textbook. The surgeon's eyes widened. That was you. That's remarkable work. Thank you, I said quietly, uncomfortable with praise I never got at home. We moved through the crowd and I met more people. A hospital administrator praised my resilience. A neurology resident asked technical questions about my symptoms. A wealthy donor wanted to talk about funding patient support programs. It felt surreal. These strangers understood the severity of what I'd been through better than my own family ever had. Then I heard her voice. "Oh my God, Maya?" I turned and there was Ashley standing near the auction tables in a designer dress I'd probably helped pay for through my parents. Her eyes were wide with surprise. "What are you doing here?" she asked, walking over. She didn't hug me. "I was invited," I said simply. "By who?" She looked skeptical, like I'd crashed the party. Before I could answer, Dr. Chin appeared at my side. "Ashley? Is this your sister?" Ashley's expression changed to something calculating. "Yes. You're Maya's doctor." She extended her hand with that practiced charm she used on everyone. "I'm Ashley Chin, pre-med at Northwestern. I've actually been following your publications. Your work on cerebrovascular surgery is incredible." Dr. Chin shook her hand politely but didn't smile. "Thank you. And you've been supporting Maya through her treatment." Ashley laughed, that dismissive little laugh she used when she thought something was ridiculous. "Well, you know Maya. She's always been a bit dramatic about medical stuff. We try not to feed into it too much." The air temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. "Dramatic?" Dr. Chen's voice was very quiet. "I mean, she's fine now, right?" Ashley glanced at me, then back to Dr. Chen. "It was just some headaches and minor surgeries. Nothing too serious." My chest tightened. Even here, even now, she couldn't help herself. "Minor surgeries," Dr. Chen repeated, her tone carefully neutral. "Right," Ashley said, gaining confidence. "I mean, I'm not trying to diminish it or anything, but Maya tends to exaggerate. He's always been like that, even as a kid. Getting attention for little things." Other people were starting to listen now. The retired surgeon had moved closer. A hospital board member stopped mid-conversation to watch. "Ashley," I said quietly, "maybe we should." "It's fine," Ashley said, waving me off. "Dr. Chin understands. I'm sure she sees patients who overreact all the time." She turned back to the doctor with a conspiratorial smile. "Between us, I think Maya just likes the sympathy. She's been milking this whole thing for over a year. Meanwhile, I'm actually working toward becoming a real doctor, you know? Making a real difference." The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Chen's expression had gone from neutral to something I'd never seen before, cold, professional fury. "Miss Chen," she said, her voice cutting through the ambient noise of the gala, "I want to make sure I understand correctly. You believe your sister's 3 craniotomies were minor surgeries." Ashley shifted slightly, sensing the danger too late. "Well, I mean..." "And you believe," Dr. Chen continued, her voice rising just enough that more people turned to listen, "that a brain tumor wrapped around the middle cerebral artery is nothing too serious?" "I didn't mean," Ashley started. "Let me educate you," Dr. Chen said, and now she wasn't speaking just to Ashley. She was speaking to the entire crowd that had gathered around us. "Since you're pre-med, you should understand this. Your sister had a grade 2 astrocytoma with atypical features. Do you know what that means?" Ashley's face was pale. Revelation. "It means," Dr. Chen said, her voice ringing with authority, "that without intervention, your sister had approximately 6 months before the tumor would have caused either a massive stroke or herniation. Do you know what herniation is, Ms. Chen?" "Yes," Ashley whispered. "Then you know it's fatal." Dr. Chen took a step closer. "Your sister has undergone 3 separate craniotomies. The first was 12 hours long. The tumor was so entwined with critical vasculature that we had her under awake craniotomy for 4 of those hours to map eloquent cortex. Do you know what that means?" Ashley shook her head, tears forming. It means your sister was awake on the operating table with her skull open, while we mapped her brain to avoid causing permanent deficits. She was awake and cooperative and brave while we cut into her brain tissue. And you call that minor? The crowd around us had grown. I recognized hospital administrators, other doctors, donors. Everyone was staring at Ashley. The second surgery, Dr. Chin continued relentlessly, was complicated by intraoperative hemorrhage. We nearly lost her on the table. I personally performed manual compression on a ruptured perforating artery while my resident called for backup. Your sister required 4 units of blood and spent 3 days in the ICU. I didn't know, Ashley tried. You didn't know because you didn't ask, Dr. Chin said. You didn't visit. You didn't call. I know this because Maya listed me as her emergency contact for all 3 surgeries. Not you. Not your parents. Me. A doctor she'd known for less than a year was more reliable than her own family. Ashley was crying now, mascara running down her face. People were whispering. I saw someone recording on their phone. The third surgery, Dr. Chin said, was 3 weeks ago. Maya has a 6-inch incision that's still healing. She has permanent vertigo that will require lifelong management. She has chronic pain that wakes her up at night. She takes 12 medications daily. She attends physical therapy 3 times a week. She has a seizure disorder now as a complication of the surgery. She wears a medical alert bracelet in case she has a breakthrough seizure in public. Dr. Chin gestured to me and I slowly pulled back my hair to show the surgical scar, still pink and angry looking. The crowd gasped audibly. This, Dr. Chin said, pointing at me, is what nothing serious looks like to you? This woman has survived 3 brain surgeries. She works full-time despite chronic illness. She lives alone because her family abandoned her during the worst crisis of her life. And you have the audacity to come to a hospital fundraiser and tell donors, people who support patients like your sister, that she's faking for sympathy? I'm sorry, Ashley sobbed. I didn't understand. No, Dr. Chin said coldly. You didn't want to understand. There's a difference. Dr. Richard Morrison, the hospital's chief of surgery and a man I just met an hour ago, stepped forward. Ashley Chin? You're the pre-med student from Northwestern. Ashley nodded, wiping her eyes. You interviewed here last month for our summer research program, he said. I was on the selection committee. Ashley's face went white. Yes, sir. You wrote in your personal statement about wanting to be a doctor because you understood the patient experience through family medical challenges. His voice was ice. You used your sister's brain tumor, these minor surgeries, as your personal essay topic? I wanted to show empathy. You exploited her trauma for your medical school application, Dr. Morrison said, while calling her dramatic in private. That's not empathy. That's sociopathy. He pulled out his phone. I'm calling Northwestern's admissions office tomorrow. They should know what kind of candidate they're considering. No, please. Ashley reached for him, but he stepped back. You're not fit to be a physician, he said simply. You lack the basic humanity required for this profession. Dr. Chin turned to me. Maya, I apologize. I should have screened the guest list better. I didn't realize your family would be here. It's okay, I said, though I was shaking. It's not okay, she said firmly. But I promise you, everyone here now knows the truth. Resolution. The video went viral. Someone at the gala had recorded Dr. Chen's entire speech and posted it online with the caption, Doctor destroys med student who called her sister's brain surgeries minor issues. Within 48 hours, it had 15 million views. Ashley's Instagram was found. People dug through her posts and found dozens of carefully crafted stories about her sister's health journey that painted her as the supportive sibling. The contrast between her public persona and the gala video was stark. Northwestern's pre-med program issued a statement. We do not tolerate misrepresentation in applications or lack of empathy in our candidates. Ashley's acceptance was rescinded. The medical schools where she'd interviewed all sent rejection letters. Someone had created a compilation of her social media posts using my medical situation for sympathy while the gala video played in split screen. No admissions committee wanted that liability. My parents called me for the first time in 3 months. How could you embarrass your sister like that? My mother demanded. I didn't do anything, I said calmly. Ashley embarrassed herself. She's lost everything. Her medical school dreams are ruined. She ruined them herself, I said. By lying and exploiting my actual medical crisis for her applications while calling me dramatic in private. We need you to post something, my father said. Tell people it was a misunderstanding. That Ashley was supportive. No, I said. No. He sounded shocked. I'd never told them no before. I'm done lying for this family, I said. Ashley told everyone at a hospital fundraiser that my brain surgeries were minor issues while I was standing right there with a healing surgical wound. Dr. Chen simply told the truth. If Ashley can't handle the consequences of her own words, that's not my problem. You're being selfish, my mother said. Family is supposed to support each other. You're right, I said. Where was my family during my 3 brain surgeries? Where were you for any of my doctor appointments? Who drove me home from the hospital? Silence. I paid for my own medical care, I continued, my voice steady. I took Ubers to brain surgery. I spent 3 days in the ICU alone. I relearned how to walk by myself. And through all of it, you told everyone I was being dramatic. So don't talk to me about family support. If you don't fix this, my father threatened, you're not welcome in this family anymore. Good, I said and hung up. The monthly check stopped. I blocked their numbers. I changed my emergency contacts to Dr. Chin and my physical therapist. Ashley's pre-med advisor at Northwestern released her from the program entirely after an ethics review. The free clinic where she volunteered asked her to step down. Her Instagram followers dropped from 50,000 to 12,000, mostly people who stayed to leave critical comments. Meanwhile, Dr. Chin asked me to speak at a patient advocacy conference. Harrison's Medical Publishing offered me a contract for a full neuroanatomy textbook. The hospital board invited me to join their patient advisory committee. 6 months later, I attended a medical illustration conference in Boston. During the keynote speech, the presenter used one of my anatomical drawings to illustrate a complex surgical technique. This illustration, he told the audience of 800 medical professionals, is by Maya Chin. Some of you may remember her story from earlier this year. She's a 3-time brain surgery survivor who continued working throughout her treatment. Her work has revolutionized how we teach neuroanatomy. The audience applauded. I sat in the back row, tears streaming down my face, not from sadness but from finally being seen. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Ashley. Can we talk? I deleted it without responding. I'd survived 3 brain surgeries, relearned how to walk, and rebuilt my entire life without my family's support. I didn't need their validation anymore. The people who mattered, my doctors, my colleagues, my real friends, they knew the truth. They'd known it all along. And that was enough.